All right, so how do they beat Gonzaga? Give me the scouting report for what would do in this matchup against Gonzaga. How do you beat them? It's not going to be easy.
If I was them, I would go back and watch the 2019 WCC championship game, and I'd watch Jordan Ford and Randy Bennett's slow down pace and execution and defensively, how they took away the paint, how they said, go ahead and beat us by 3. Listen, Gonzaga is not an elite level 3-point shooting team. They're not. It's a fallacy if you believe that they are.
No, they got
Corey Kispert is a great 3-point shooter, But the rest of the squad is just solid. They're good 3-point shooters. They're not great. And I think, you look at where their production comes, they're historically good in field goal percentage for 2-point shots. They're historically good for points in the paint. I think you go back and you watch what Randy Bennett did and said, okay, can we replicate that with our talent? Can we put, Jaime Jaquez as the screener and have Johnny Juzang working that middle third of the floor and see if Johnny can hit that mid-range jump shot at the elbow all day long and force Mark Few to have to change his coverage against ball screen defense. Look, go back to the Oklahoma game. If Austin Reeves doesn't get in foul trouble, that was a pretty good plan by Lon Kruger. I mean, we saw them get downhill and be able to score early in that game and have some efficiency with it. And I think that that's the area where I would want to see elevation of Drew Timme setting on-ball screens, whether he's guarding Cody Riley or whoever he's guarding. And then you put shooters around the outside. And if they start to pinch and show to try to stop Johnny Juzang, then I'd make Johnny the playmaker. And then he's kicking out to Jules Bernard. He's kicking out to Jaime Jaquez on the outside. And you have opportunities for them to close out defensively, shot fake, drive the hole, try to get them in foul trouble. But you've got to work in the last third of the shot clock. You've got to be ultra efficient within that final third of the shot clock. You cannot turn the ball over because, as we saw the other night against USC, when you have 7 turnovers in the first 5 minutes, the game was over. The game was over in the first 5 minutes of the contest. Mm-hmm. So you can't do that. And I would say, listen, we're going to try to – you hit 10, 12 threes, I'm going to tip my cap to you and say congratulations. But we are going to pack it in. We are not going to allow you to back cut us. We're not going to allow you to play through Drew Timme and just pick us apart. We're gonna just collapse to the paint and force you to take contested shots. And if you can get them to do that and they have a cold night, it gives you a chance.
I love that you mentioned St. Mary's because my initial reaction was to go back and watch the first half of the St. Mary's Gonzaga game this year. Then when they played in Moraga, when St. Mary's basically what they did was they took 28 seconds off every shot, put some of the balls at the end of the clock, and then just completely ignored offensive rebounds, sent all 5 guys back, and said, "Okay, you're going to beat us in the half court. You're not going to get out and run on us." And it worked. They were up. Well, they were up by like 14, I think, in the first half.
They were up. It's only one of 2 games where they trailed by double digits. On the season. The other one obviously was against BYU, but BYU is not a good game to watch. If UCLA watches BYU, they're not going to get anything out of that. Because,
make BYU every shot that you take. That was BYU's game.
They shot 69% in the first half. You knew it wasn't sustainable. And by the way, they still gave up 43 points in the first half, which means that Gonzaga was still on pace to score 90 in the game. And UCLA is not going to score 90 points. So for them to have a chance, they have to keep this game down in the 70s at the very least. Now, on the season, nobody's kept Gonzaga under 74 points this year. So make no mistake about it, you're still going to have to score points. But how you limit their opportunities, I think, is the key. Listen, I love my alma mater. I love that Mick Cronin has got them here. This will be very difficult because the problem for the Bruins is Mark Few is going to probably scheme to take Johnny Juzang just out of the equation, right? That would be what I would do after watching UCLA. And if you take Johnny Juzang out of the equation and you cut his points in half, look, Bruins scored 51 points. You cut his points in half. How do you score enough points to beat them? You don't. And the problem for UCLA is you can't scheme just to say, okay, hey, we're going to take Corey Kispert out of it, or we're going to take Jalen Suggs out of it, or we're going to take – you have multiple guys you have to worry about that if you don't know exactly how you're defending them and what you're doing, they're going to back cut you, they're going to hurt you, they're going to score with ease inside the paint. This offense, this team for Gonzaga is the best passing team I've seen in a really long time in college basketball. And their body movement is even better. So it's not just ball movement, but it's body movement. They move the ball, space the floor. They cut, they move, they don't stand. They force you to have to defend. And if you watch the ball for a second, you're giving up a layup. You're giving up a layup. And that's what makes them so unique. And Joel Ayayi is the best reader of his defensive player in the country when you talk about movement off ball. I've seen it so many times this year when covering them. Sometimes he misses the layup and it drives me crazy because he's wide open. And we've seen that in the tournament. But if you are defending him and he enters the ball down to Drew Timme and you look, he's cutting. The second your head starts to turn to look at Drew Timme, he's cutting for a layup. And that's what makes this team so dangerous. All right, I'm taking this jacket off. It's hot.
So, Sean, no disrespect, but we really need Gonzaga to win this game.
I knew you would say that. I knew you would
say that. It's true.
I take disrespect to that.
All right, well, you can take whatever disrespect you want.
You know the funny thing is, though, Jeff? There's people, because of the spicy shrimp flatbread thing, there are people that literally are like, you should rename it because it's the Bruins versus the Zags this weekend. We shouldn't have it still be the Farnham just for the weekend. And I'm like, no. Let me describe it to you. All right, this is my blood child, UCLA, right? And my adopted child, the team that I've covered more in the last 11 years than any program in the country. Yeah. And you know what? Sometimes children will fight, and that's okay. And as a parent, my advice would always be this: remove yourself from the fight. Let them figure it out. You can sit back and you can be supportive to both and enjoy the game.
Stepdad Sean.
That's what I'm going to do.
Yeah, listen, again, so I picked Baylor to win it all. Preseason.
You're wrong, but that's okay.
No, and I may be. Listen, they got a much tougher game here coming up than
they do. They really do. That's the game, by the way.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be a war, and if all right, let's say hypothetically we do get what I think most people want, which is Gonzaga Baylor. Does Baylor have a chance if we get it?
Yeah, of course they do. Of course they do. Because I think matchup wise, out on the perimeter, they have a tremendous amount of versatility, and then size and athletically, they match up extremely well on the perimeter with Gonzaga. So I think that really helps them a lot in that game. I think it'd be look. I've said this too. Remember the book, the last great game that was about the Kentucky Duke game. They might need to rewrite a second version of that book if we get that game on Monday night. Honestly, I mean, there's no doubt the two best teams in college basketball all season long are Baylor and Gonzaga. Now, I think Baylor's matchup versus Houston is going to be an absolute fight. I do not think it's going to be easy. I think it's going to be an extremely close game. I think as much as we're saying, hey, the matchup for the Gonzaga guards versus Baylor guards are good. Yeah. We have arguably the three best backcourts in the country here in the Final Four. We talk so much about guard play and how guard play is really important. When you look at the numbers and you think about Dejan Algero, and you think of Marcus Sasser and Quentin Grimes. I mean, they defend. They are physical.
They're big.
Giroux's ability to pass.
They're not long, but they're big and strong.
Yeah, but
they're men.
Right. They never let you – they haven't let any team feel comfortable so far in this NCAA tournament. Now, obviously, they've played nothing but double-digit seeds all the way through. And so that's going to be used against them. So how much of that is a byproduct of who they got to play? You can't fault them for who they had to play. It's not their fault.
And they played in the AAC.
Lost.
They played in the AAC all year also.
Right.
It's been
so
wild.
Now you're going to step up in weight class here a little bit, and you're going to take on Baylor. But I do think that the time between games gives them an ample opportunity to know exactly who they are, how they're going to play. And I think that they understand that this team has never wavered on their identity. Offense and defensive efficiency ranking in the top 10 in both categories, but offensively, I think that's always been a limitation a little bit for me. I've always been a little bit concerned with their offense. But I think defensively, they're going to be very disruptive. I don't think they're going to let Baylor just step into wide open three-point shots and knock them down from the outside and go, oh, wow, we didn't know they were a great three-point shooting team. I think they're going to make them feel really uncomfortable. I think they're going to hit them on the first possession. I think Baylor's going to feel Houston at the offensive end. Baylor is going to know where Houston is defensively at all times. And can they knock them off their line? Can they extend out the offense 2 or 3 steps away further out and change that angle of the pass that has been a rhythm pass all year long for Baylor? And I think that they can. And I guarantee you that the coaching staff, and I guarantee you those players, they've been focused on that task ever since they won their game.